All right, hello and welcome. I'm Brian Heap from KCRA3, and we are here talking and getting you ready for the upcoming wildfire season. And we are also joined by CAL FIRE's Daniel Berlant. He's the Assistant Deputy Director of CAL FIRE, and he's somebody that we've talked to many times over the years, not just at fire scenes, but also when it comes to fire prevention and the things that you can do to help minimize the risk. So, Daniel, thanks for your time tonight. And boy, Daniel, let's jump right into it because we've already seen this, right, just in the last couple of weeks. Fortunately, we've avoided the really big wildfires, but just lots of grass fires, even in the Sacramento area recently.
Yeah, especially in the last couple of weeks, activity has really ticked up significantly. Obviously, the lack of rain that we saw in April has led to very dry conditions. And then the last 2 weekends in a row, we've had red flag warning conditions, critical fire weather due to gusty low winds, low humidity, and you couple that with the dry conditions. And even though we're only the beginning of May, conditions are drying out much earlier than normal. Even more reason why this preparedness discussion is so important today.
Yeah, it's been just brutal these last couple of weeks because not only has it been so dry and now hot, but also we've had these days with really strong winds out there, and that's like the recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah, the wind does a couple factors. One is especially north winds. They're a dry wind, so any moisture that may still be in the grass or in the brush, those north winds actually dry out the vegetation. And why that's important is that even a plant that looks green, when those north winds blow and the humidity goes down, it sucks that moisture out. And so why that's important is it means when a fire ignites, it's going to spread very quickly when a vegetation is drier. You then add the fact that wind is obviously blowing, and so it creates an effect that spreads the fire much more at a faster rate, and even sometimes at an erratic speed and in different directions. And so the wind really works against us, dries conditions out further, and then actually spreads the fire once it's ignited. And so that's why it's a critical combination that creates fire weather that we have to be prepared for when those winds occur.
Daniel, take us behind the scenes a little bit at CAL FIRE. Talk us through kind of the planning that goes on at this point in the year before we get into the really hard part of fire season, and talk a little bit about kind of, when we should start to prepare for things.
Well, we need the public to be prepared now. We really started preparing at the end of last year and many, many months ago. In fact, we started hiring seasonal firefighters in the winter months. In February, the governor allowed us and gave us the ability to bring on somewhere around 1,300 additional seasonal firefighters. And now it gave us this time to prepare early in the season, but we've already been using those firefighters not just to respond to fires, but they've been doing fuel reduction work. They've been doing building fire breaks around communities, performing prescribed burns. And so we are well prepared many months ago. But May really, especially last week being Wildfire Preparedness Week, is the time that it's really important for all of us Californians across the Sacramento region, but across the state, to be ensuring that around our home, we're taking steps to clear dead vegetation, take the time to really create an evacuation plan and other things. So this is the time of year right now, today, that we need to be having these conversations.
Yeah, Daniel, you make a great point too, talking about like the evacuation plan, because so many of our viewers, they live in the rural communities. It's come to be almost something that you deal with on a yearly basis, right? Being evacuated from your home, sometimes for days or even weeks at a time. Talk a little bit about that go bag. We have it as TV reporters. We've got a go bag. If there's a big breaking story, we've got to grab it and go. But people at home have to have a go bag as well, right?
Yeah, I always recommend, and even in my own house, all my important documents are in one location. So a go bag doesn't necessarily just mean, things that you might need like clothes, phone chargers, but they're the valuable items, the memorabilia, the photographs that are irreplaceable, birth certificates, legal documents. All of that really should be in one location in your home, so that when an evacuation is called, and in some cases, people only get minutes to leave. And so you don't have time to run in this room and grab the box of photos, and run in this room and grab your birth certificates, and run in that room and get your phone charger. You've got to make sure you have a to-go bag, an emergency supply kit. An emergency supply kit can be used for any disaster, and that's where you have water, maybe copies of your prescriptions, a first aid kit, a flashlight, a spare pair of glasses, but then also for wildfire specifically, having an evacuation kit is more. It includes all those, again, personal items, those legal documents, all in one centralized location so that you can get to it, access it really quickly.
Daniel, we got some questions coming in from viewers. Let's take another one here. This one says, what can I do to make my home safer once fire season starts? So I know this is kind of right in your wheelhouse. This is a fastball right down the middle.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. Defensible space. But we've been talking about defensible space for decades now. And for those who don't know what it means, even if you live in a more urban area, in a city, within city limits, it means getting rid of any dead vegetation at least 100 feet from your home. And I really make the point about if you live in the city, you still could be affected. And you may not have weeds and grass, around your home, but maybe you have leaves from the trees, pine needles, oak leaves that accumulate on your roof. Removing all dead vegetation, even on a city lot, is so critical, at least 100 feet from your home. But one thing we've really been seeing in the last, well, Brian, in last 5 years, 47,000 homes have been destroyed by wildfires. 47,000. And so what we've really been able to see from this unfortunate loss is that defensible space helps, but so does the building materials that home is made of. That is an important factor. And so hardening a home has really been a new discussion. Now, new homes built since 2008 already include many of these building materials and technologies. But for many who don't own a home, or who own a home or live in a home that was built prior to those building codes, retrofitting is really something that we need to be talking more about. And that retrofitting doesn't mean you need a contractor. It doesn't mean you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars. There are actually items you can do today yourself, as long as you have some mobility. You can do some of these items for less than $100, some even for free. And that's why home hardening really shouldn't be something that you think is too hard to do. But hardening your home with these retrofits in combination with defensible space, that's the key to really increasing the home's chance of surviving a wildfire. And you as a homeowner, or even as a resident renting, this is what's going to help you protect your home the most.
And Daniel, the state has some of these programs designed to specifically help people with this home hardening, right? So what are some of the ways that people can ask for and get that kind of help and that assistance?
So first off, let's talk about our low-cost retrofit list. We released a list, and it's published on our website. And a great resource for all the stuff we're talking about is a website, readyforwildfire.org. And on that website, you can learn about defensible space, you can learn about home hardening, you can learn about evacuation plans, all the different steps you need to be prepared. But the low-cost retrofit list has 10 things that you can do for relatively cheap to help upgrade your building itself. A good example of something really cheap and really easy to do is you can go to your local hardware store for maybe $10, $15. You can buy metal meshing. They sell it in strands, and you can cut out from that metal meshing the circular shape of your any of your vents in your home. Most attics have a vent, whether it be a square size or sometimes circular. Cutting out metal mesh that's a small size. We still want to let airflow get into the attic, but we want to stop those embers from intruding and getting inside. And so using a vent that is 1/8 to even as small as 1/16, so a very small size, is what's going to allow or prevent an ember from getting inside. So 10 low-cost list, easy to use. There's even 5 things you can do that are that cost you nothing, that are free. But as you mentioned, the state, we are definitely recognizing we need to do more in this retrofitting space. And so recently the legislature passed a bill that established a home hardening assistance program, a financial assistance program for low-income, disadvantaged, vulnerable, socially vulnerable populations. And we're very quickly working with the State Office of Emergency Services and a number of other stakeholders to essentially develop a grant program to get homeowners and communities hardened in areas that maybe they just can't afford it. But again, I would tip you towards low-cost retrofit list first, free to low-cost things you can do. But then for those that just can't afford it and don't have the physical capability to do it, we are working on a financial assistance program in the very near future to help communities that are vulnerable.
Perfect job, Daniel. And one more time, that website you said was readyforwildfire.org. Is that correct?
That's it, readyforwildfire.org.
Okay, so write that down, folks. Readyforwildfire.org. Let's get to another question here, Daniel. So this viewer says, how can people properly dispose of debris from burn piles, coals from barbecues, other combustible materials that, and do you see this kind of stuff start fires, Daniel?
So I'll answer this first part. Yes, all of these items start fires. In fact, one of our leading causes are debris fires, and these are vegetation debris, branches, leaves. In rural areas, it is allowed under certain times of the year, and again, back to in certain communities, you can burn your leaves, you can burn your vegetation. It is a fast and one of the easiest ways to get rid of vegetation in the winter months. However, people are often doing their clearance this time of year when conditions are right at the peak and are at the edge. And under the wrong conditions, a simple pile of branches ignited on fire with the wind could carry and spread. And so there are other ways of doing it. You can compost it. You can mulch it. Many refuge, like your garbage companies, actually have green waste products. Maybe you can't fit it all into a green waste bin that you might have at your home, but there are a number of dumps and other refuge centers that actually have green waste days where you can bring a truckload back of a pickup truck or a trailer filled with branches and other landscape debris to the landfill, and they're able to then compost it and even in some cases turn it into energy. Biomass energy is using these kind of branches. But to the second part, coals, barbecues, yes, these aren't common causes of fires, but they do occur. It's really important that if you have a barbecue, especially if you're using something like coal, any type of campfire, really, you've got to ensure that it's properly extinguished. That may be completely taking the coals and soaking them in a metal bin or a metal bucket of full water so that you've completely submerged it. But it's really important that you don't just throw coals or anything that is hot right into the garbage can. A lot of people clear out their fireplaces. If they have a wood burning stove fireplace, they take all those ashes, they put them in a paper bag, they throw them in the garbage. Well, those hot ashes, though they may have looked cool, they may still be hot. You've got to make sure that anything that was once on fire, coals, ashes, any of that stuff, is completely extinguished with water.
On the subject of burning, one of our viewers over here, Matthew, asks about illegal burners during red flag days. He says, what are we doing to find those people? Because Matthew seems to think that that's not happening often enough. Daniel, what would you say?
Yeah, the fire, based on which fire department you're in, most communities do have ordinances that does allow for a fine if you are burning on a no burn day. A couple things, it's really important. If you are in a rural area that CAL FIRE protects, you are required to have a burn permit. And then in most areas, you are required to have a second permit or make sure that that day you're going to burn is a burn day by your local air pollution control district. So there are two steps that must occur legally before you actually burn. And making sure it's a burn day is going to ensure that it's not a windy day or the conditions aren't right. But to the question, yes, there is enforcement that it's done. The other thing that at least CAL FIRE we have a civil cost recovery program. So when a fire occurs that is negligently started, illegally started, meaning you burned on a day you were not allowed to burn, you burned materials you can't burn, you burned without a burn permit, and you start a wildfire, we actually have the legal authority and really the public requirement that we can charge you for the cost of suppressing that wildfire. So it's not just a fine, but it could be tens of thousands, in some situations, even millions of dollars to recover the taxpayer dollars that it costs to fight that fire that was negligently started.
Wow. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, Daniel. Okay, so let's talk about this. And we kind of touched a little bit on this a few minutes ago, but let's go back to it for just a second, Daniel, because it's super, super important, because we know that viewers are going to be, at some point this summer, asked to evacuate, ordered to evacuate. We just know it's going to happen. So what are the first steps that people should take once that evacuation warning is issued?
Well, it really starts before the warning. As we mentioned, have that to-go kit, have those items. When that evacuation warning is issued, when you have a warning, the warning is the first step. That tells you you may be asked to evacuate. And so the immediate thing you should start to think about are those important documents. As I mentioned at the top, those could be anywhere from birth certificates to copies of your driver's license to photos or memorabilia. And so ensuring that you have all those items set aside is going to be very important. Because if you're going to ask to evacuate, you're not going to have a lot of time. If you're going to be ordered to evacuate, you may only be given minutes to do so. Another important tip is to actually take your car, if it's in the driveway or in the garage, pull it out of the garage. Oftentimes in these wildfires, the fire is going to burn down the power pole. The power pole may fall and you may lose electricity in your area, and you don't want to get your car stuck in the garage. And while garages built today have ability to have spring-loaded, easy-up access even without the power, I always recommend people pull their car out of their garage, pack it up then, and point your car pointed out, pointed towards the street. Most people pull right into their garage, nose in. If you've ever driven by a fire department, you'll notice it's the opposite for the fire engines and the fire equipment. They're always pointed out. So if you're given a warning, pack that car up, get those important documents all in one location, pull the car out of the garage, and make sure it's pointed out to the street. The other thing, too, is we all have things on our deck or right outside of our back door. That could be patio furniture. It could be a barbecue. Anything that's flammable, if you have the time, bring it inside or at least take it 30 feet away from the home. So remove flammable items from around your home. Again, all of this is based on time. If you have the time, get a ladder. Put a ladder up against the house. That will allow firefighters easy access to the roof if they need it. While we bring in our own water supply, we may need to use your garden hose. So pull out the garden hose so it's easily accessible based on time. Another one that I skipped over that's really important and people have died from, if you have cats or other pets that you can't easily capture, get them during the warning, put them in get them ready to evacuate. I can't think of the right word at the moment. But again, in an emergency, in a stressful situation, cats especially are really good at hiding. And a lot of people, will spend as much time as they can getting these members of their family. Pets are members of our family. So find your animals. But when that actual evacuation order is made and you're actually told you must leave, you got to leave without your animals. You've got to leave. Your life is irreplaceable. Unfortunately, animals are, and that's hard to say, and I love mine. I'm hoping my cat doesn't walk into the frame here or my dog doesn't come into the room as we speak. But the bottom line is, if you have a warning and you have time, get those animals, set them aside, because to me, and for probably most, that's more important than the photos. That's more important than the birth certificates.
Yeah, so many great points that you made there, Daniel. But I think, for me, the biggest takeaway of all is just how precious even a few seconds can be in that moment. And you just don't want to waste those few precious seconds. Like you said, whether it's looking for the cat or whether it's backing the car out of the garage as opposed to just being able to go straight ahead. I mean, those 2 or 3 seconds could very easily be the difference, because the fires can move that quickly sometimes, right?
Yeah, and sadly, people have died trying to find their cats. And sadly, people who have evacuated, I've talked to many evacuees over the years, and many of them grab, under a stressful situation, the closest things to them. They grab a bunch of clothes, but clothes are replaceable. Clothes are really not meaningful. And they start to think about, after they're evacuated, oh shoot, the shoe box up in the top of the closet that has all the photos, or my prized possessions that I keep in this other room, and they forget about them. So think about those things now, set them in one location, make sure they're easily accessible. That, Brian, tonight, that should happen tonight, so that when that evacuation warning occurs, you're just grabbing it from one location, putting it in the car. You're pulling the car out, you're grabbing the cats, you're grabbing the dog, you're putting them in the car. And another important thing is, usually in an evacuation, there hopefully will be some level of warning before an actual evacuation order is given. And that warning, honestly, if it was me, that's when I would leave. Get out of the area, because another problem that we've had, and we had it during the campfire, is everybody was leaving at one time under a stressful situation, and it clogs up the roads. And a lot of people died in the campfire up in Paradise because they just could not drive out of the fire zone fast enough. They got stuck in traffic. And so if it was me and my family, an evacuation warning was given, that would be the time that I would leave. And hey, when they get the fire out, I can come back pretty quickly. Don't wait to be told to evacuate. And one more thing, you may not ever be told to evacuate. The fire may happen so quick, it may happen in the middle of the night. There may not be the time for first responders to notify you that the fire is coming and that you must leave. So don't wait for an evacuation order to be given.
Yeah, excellent. All excellent points there, Daniel. So let's take another question here. This one's from Bonnie, and she was talking about, will we open our fire towers before June 1st? Because she says it seems like we need all the coverage we can get. What would you say to Bonnie there?
Yeah, every area is a little different. Some of our lookout towers have actually been equipped with a camera system. In fact, you guys use it quite a bit. If you see, you guys have your weather sky cams. We now have our fire cams, and so through technology, we are now running those lookout towers and even more locations, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, yes, staffing our lookouts, is been a long important way for us to be notified of when a fire occurs. But the reality is, with cell phones today, we actually get notified of fires much quicker than we did 20 or 30 years ago when the lookouts were really needed. The fact that we've now been able to add a camera system to them. But I just want to be clear, nothing replaces an actual human in those towers that has eyes on. And we have some very strong volunteer programs where we have hardworking members of our community that step up and volunteer their time in our lookout towers. To the question, though, I don't know the exact dates. Based on fire conditions, each of our areas is a little different, but based on our volunteer availability. And if you're looking to volunteer, on our CAL FIRE website, you can learn more about our volunteer and prevention program. And lookout tower staffing is one of those ways that you can help.
Okay, so Daniel, so it's about time that we wrap this up. So give me just in maybe 30 or 40 seconds, just kind of run back through and give me a couple of those quick hits and quick pointers that you wanted to really emphasize for our viewers tonight. Because again, it's something that we all have to prepare for here. And today, as you mentioned, is the day to do it. So what do you want people to keep in mind?
So if you only remember three things about tonight: have defensible space, clear 100 feet of dead vegetation from around your home, harden your home, retrofit it with building materials that are ember resistant, that will help your structure survive the embers of a wildfire. Third, have an evacuation go bag with all your important documents, all your valuables in one location, so that when an evacuation warning or order is given, you can quickly leave. Defensible space, home hardening, an evacuation plan, and kit. Those are critical items that tonight, I hope you start to make sure you, your family, and even your home are prepared for fire season.
Okay, great stuff. Daniel, thank you as always for your time. And on behalf of everybody at KCRA and all of our viewers, just thank you. Thanks for all that you and all the brave CAL firefighters do to protect our homes and protect our property. We sure appreciate it. And we're certainly going to need to lean on you again this summer.
Yep. Thanks, Brian, for the time.
Okay.